Tyler Grant KNX peered through his 6 compound eyes at the medical scanner's readout, his antenna twitching in disbelief. He blinked rapidly, convinced his visual sensors were malfunctioning. The data simply couldn't be correct. It was impossible. Impossible! He chittered, his mandibles clicking together in agitation. His assistant, a young Zorvin named Kyle Beck, yes, really Kyle Beck, slithered over, leaving a trail of glistening mucus behind. "What seems to be the problem, doctor?" he gurgled curiously. Tyler Grant gestured at the unconscious human female lying on the exam table with one of his spindly appendages. "According to these readings, this death should be deceased, kaput, gone from this mortal coil. She's joined the choir invisible." Kyle Beck, peering at the scanner with his eye stalks, muttered, "Oh my, that looks rather fatal, doesn't it? Ruptured organs, massive blood loss, and multiple compound fractures. Are you sure she's not actually dead?" Tyler Grant pointed at the life signs monitor, its steady beeping cutting through the tension. "Does that sound like a corpse to you, you gelatinous nincompoop?" he snapped. Kyle Beck, puffing up indignantly, rippled in offense. "No need for name-calling," he muttered. But Tyler Grant ignored him, muttering under his breath. "It defies all medical logic. By all rights, this human should be nothing but a leaking sack of meat by now, and yet—" He trailed off, his mandibles working furiously as he tried to process the situation. Just then, the door to the exam room whooshed open, and in strode Dr. Harold Briggs, the hospital's chief of medicine. His Vorlaxian exoskeleton gleamed under the harsh lighting as he fixed Tyler Grant with a stern glare from his bulbous eyes. "What's going on here?" he demanded, his voice sharp. "I was in the middle of a delightful meal of fermented algae when I got an urgent page. This had better be important, Tyler Grant KNX, or I'll have you transferred to disposal duty faster than you can say explosive decompression." Tyler Grant hastily straightened up, nearly knocking over a tray of delicate instruments with his unwieldy limbs. "Chief, I'm so glad you're here. We have a rather unusual case on our hands." Dr. Harold Briggs twitched his antennae irritably. "Out with it, man. I don't have all solar cycle." "Well, you see, sir," Tyler Grant continued, "this human patient, female, about 30 standard years old, was brought in with injuries that, by all medical knowledge, should be absolutely, unequivocally fatal." He gestured helplessly at the life signs monitor. The chief of medicine's compound eyes narrowed as he reviewed the patient's scans. After a long moment of silence, he turned to Tyler Grant with an accusing glare. "Is this some sort of juvenile prank, doctor? Because I assure you, I am not amused." No, sir!" Tyler Grant stammered. "I swear on the Grand Hive Mother that everything here is completely factual." Dr. Harold Briggs's mandibles clicked as he processed the information, his expression a mixture of reluctant fascination and disbelief. Incredible. Simply incredible. In all my years of medical practice, I've never seen anything like it. This human's capacity for survival is frankly terrifying. Kyle Beck, who had been quietly oozing in the corner, piped up, "Begging your pardon, sir, but I think the human is regaining consciousness." All 3 aliens turned to watch as the woman on the exam table began to stir, her eyelids fluttering open. She blinked groggily, taking in the strange faces surrounding her. "Ooh," she groaned. "Did anyone get the number of that asteroid that hit me?" Tyler Grant leaned in, his antenna quivering with barely suppressed excitement. "Greetings, human. I am Tyler Grant KNX. How are you feeling?" The woman considered for a moment, then replied, "Like I got into a fistfight with a black hole and lost. But honestly, I've had worse hangovers." She tried to sit up, wincing slightly. "So, what's the damage, Doc? Anything serious?" The 3 aliens exchanged incredulous looks. Dr. Harold Briggs cleared his throat, or whatever passed for a throat in his bizarre physiology. "Ah, well, you see, by all medical knowledge you should be, how did the humans put it, dead as a doornail?" The woman chuckled, then immediately regretted it as a sharp pain lanced through her ribs. "Ouch. Okay, laughing hurts. Note to self, no comedy clubs for a while. But seriously, it can't be that bad, right? I mean, I'm still breathing and everything." Tyler Grant's mandibles clicked rapidly as he tried to find the words to explain. You don't understand. Your injuries are catastrophic. Multiple organ failures, severe blood loss, compound fractures. It's a miracle you're even conscious, let alone talking." The woman shrugged, then winced again. "You should see the other guy." She paused, a look of concern crossing her face. "Wait, the kids, are they okay?" Dr. Harold Briggs nodded, still looking utterly baffled by the woman's nonchalant attitude. "Yes, thanks to your actions, they survived with only minor injuries. You, on the other hand, took the brunt of a freaking plasma bomb." The woman finished for him, grinning despite the pain clearly caused by the effort. "Well, that explains why I feel like I went 10 rounds with a supernova. So, what's the prognosis, docs? Am I going to make it?" The 3 alien doctors exchanged worried glances. Finally, Tyler Grant spoke up. "By all logic and medical science, no. You shouldn't even be alive right now, let alone expect a recovery." He gestured to the monitors, which stubbornly displayed stable vital signs. The human woman rolled her eyes. "Come on, you're exaggerating. It's just a flesh wound. A couple of Band-Aids and some Advil, and I'll be right as rain, right?" Dr. Harold Briggs's exoskeleton quivered with frustration. "You don't get it, human. Your injuries go far beyond severe. They're fatal. By all rights, you should be a messy smear on the spaceport floor right now." The woman thought for a moment, then shrugged, followed by a wince. She really needed to stop doing that. "Well, I guess I'm just too stubborn to die. Not that I don't appreciate the world-class medical care, but any chance I could get some painkillers? I wasn't kidding about that supernova thing." As Kyle Beck slithered off to fetch the medication, Tyler Grant leaned in, his compound eyes glittering with scientific curiosity. "Fascinating. Absolutely fascinating. Tell me, human, is this kind of durability common among your species?" The woman paused, thinking it over. "I mean, we're tough, I guess. We've earned that a deathworld reputation, but I wouldn't say we're invincible or anything." She flashed a mischievous grin. "Although I did see a guy once walk off a broken femur because he didn't want to miss the season finale of his favorite show." Dr. Harold Briggs's antennae shot straight up in shock. "Impossible! A broken femur is a major injury." The woman nodded sagely. "Oh, totally. But try getting between a human and the last episode of Game of Thrones. It's like trying to wrestle a Thyrex warrior from its favorite disemboweling knife." Kyle Beck returned with a hypospray filled with a bright purple liquid. "Here you are, human. Our strongest pain medication. I must warn you, it may cause some disorientation, but—" Before he could finish, the woman had already grabbed the hypospray and jabbed it into her neck. The 3 doctors watched in shock as she pushed the plunger, injecting the entire dose in one go. "Ah, that's the stuff," she sighed, her eyes growing slightly unfocused. "You know, for a bunch of bug-eyed aliens, you guys aren't half bad. A bit uptight, sure, but your drugs are top-notch." Tyler Grant's mandibles clicked in a rapid rhythm. But that was enough sedative to knock out a full-grown Shazar swamp beast. How are you still conscious?" The woman giggled, a slightly goofy grin spreading across her face. "What can I say? Humans are full of surprises. Now who wants to hear a joke? Why don't scientists trust atoms? Because they make up everything." She burst into a fit of giggles, while the 3 alien doctors exchanged horrified but fascinated glances. Dr. Harold Briggs leaned in closer to Tyler Grant, his voice a low hiss. "I want a full battery of tests done on this human. Blood work, tissue samples, genetic analysis, everything. If we can harness even a fraction of their regenerative abilities." Tyler Grant nodded eagerly. "Yes, sir. I'll get on it right away." He glanced nervously at the human, who was now trying to explain the concept of knock-knock jokes to an increasingly confused Kyle Beck. "Perhaps we should wait until the medication wears off," Tyler Grant suggested. Dr. Harold Briggs considered this for a moment, then nodded. "Agreed. In the meantime, I want full security outside this room. The last thing we need is for our miraculous human to wander off and start an interstellar incident." As if on cue, the woman suddenly shot upright, her eyes wide with excitement. "Hey, have you guys ever tried pizza? It's the best thing ever. We should totally order some. Ooh, or maybe tacos. Do you think they deliver to hospitals on alien planets?" The 3 doctors exchanged tired glances. This was going to be a long night. Several hours later, After the pain medication had worn off, and the human had been subjected to an extensive array of tests that would have made a lab rat file a formal complaint, Tyler Grant found himself staring at the medical readouts in utter disbelief. This is unprecedented," he muttered, his antenna twitching sporadically. The rate of cellular regeneration, the enhanced immune response, the sheer resilience of their biology, it's like nothing I've ever encountered. Kyle Beck, who had been helping with the tests while still trying to understand the concept of knock-knock jokes, gurgled inquiringly. "But surely, Doctor, we've encountered species with remarkable healing abilities before, like the Trellanfee-minded worms, for instance, who can regrow entire body segments." Tyler Grant dismissed him with a wave. "Child's play compared to this? The human's body isn't just healing, it's adapting." He pointed to a particularly intricate graph on the monitor. "See? The cellular structure is shifting. It's as if their body is learning from the injury and becoming more resistant to similar damage in the future." Kyle Beck's eye stalks wobbled with excitement. "Fascinating, but what could have caused such an evolutionary advantage?" Tyler Grant's compound eyes gleamed with fervor. Their homeworld, of course, Earth, a death world so horrifically dangerous that it boggles the mind. Gravity is crushing enough to pulverize a thorax and battle tank. The atmospheric pressure would implode the average sentient. Temperature variations swing from instant freeze-dried to spontaneous combustion, and that's just the planet itself. He paced back and forth, gesturing wildly with his numerous limbs. Then you have the flora and fauna, plants that digest entire creatures, animals capable of swallowing a warship whole, and microscopic organisms so virulent they make the Andromeda plague look like a mild cold. Is it any surprise that a species evolving in such a nightmarish environment would develop such remarkable survival traits? Kyle Beck quivered thoughtfully, leaving behind a trail of shimmering slime. "When you put it that way, it's no wonder the humans haven't taken over the entire galaxy yet." Tyler Grant froze mid-gesture, his exoskeleton visibly paling. "By the Grand Hive Mother, what if that's exactly their plan? What if this injured human is merely the first wave of an invasion force?" Before Kyle Beck could respond, likely with something unhelpful and mucus-related, the door to the lab swished open, and in strode Dr. Harold Briggs, the chief of medicine. His exoskeleton vibrated with barely contained fury as he glared at the scene. "Ah, hell," Amanda Foster muttered under her breath. "Looks like the fun police just arrived." Dr. Harold Briggs stalked across the floor, his multiple legs clicking ominously. "Tyler Grant KNX, I gave you the task of observing and studying our guest. Instead, I find half my staff neglecting their duties, gathered around her like she's some sort of star attraction." Kyle Beck, eager as ever to contribute, offered helpfully. "Like she's the most fascinating thing ever," earning him a glare so intense it could have curdled milk on a dozen different planets. "Precisely," Dr. Harold Briggs hissed, his frustration palpable. "This is a medical facility, not a circus. Everyone back to their posts immediately. And as for you," he turned to Amanda Foster, "you are returning to your room this instant. We need to understand how you've recovered from injuries that should have, by all logic, been fatal." Amanda Foster sighed dramatically, hands on her hips. Fine, but only if you answer one question first." Dr. Harold Briggs' antennae twitched in irritation. "And what, pray tell, would that be?" A playful grin spread across Amanda Foster's face. "Do you have any idea how much paperwork is involved in declaring someone legally dead when they're, not actually dead? Because I've got a feeling there's going to be some very confused bureaucrats back home when they hear about this." The chief of medicine's compound eyes blinked rapidly as he processed this. It's hardly relevant to—" "Oh, it's plenty relevant," Amanda Foster cut in, her grin widening. "Because if you really want to understand how I survived, you'll need to study humans in general. And what better way to do that than with a cultural exchange program? I'm sure plenty of folks back on Earth would love to visit an alien hospital. For science, of course." Dr. Harold Briggs's mandibles worked silently for a moment, imagining the chaos that would unfold from a hospital full of humans. "That's completely out of the question. The liability alone would be— But think of the breakthroughs," Amanda Foster pressed eagerly. "Imagine applying human-level durability to other species. You could revolutionize trauma care across the galaxy, not to mention the marketing potential. Galactic General, home of the unkillable humans. Sounds catchy, doesn't it? The surrounding aliens were watching this verbal duel with rapt attention, their heads swiveling back and forth like spectators at an intense game of Zerog tennis. Dr. Harold Briggs's exoskeleton had grown a distinctly lighter shade. This is absurd. I won't be manipulated by a patient no matter how resilient you are. You will return to your room immediately for further testing, and that's final. Amanda Foster shrugged nonchalantly, wincing slightly as the motion pulled at her still healing injuries. All right, you win. Back to the room it is. But don't say I didn't warn you when the media finds out. I can already picture the headlines. Miracle human survival covered up by stuffy alien doctors. It'll be a scandal. Dr. Harold Briggs's antennae drooped, his defeat clear. Fine. We'll consider your proposal for a cultural exchange, but first you're going back to your room, and you will undergo every test we can devise. Is that understood? Amanda Foster gave a sloppy salute, nearly poking herself in the eye. Aye, Captain. Lead the way to your torture chambers. I mean, your state-of-the-art medical facilities. As Tyler Grant began guiding the human back to her room, Kyle Beck slithered up next to Dr. Harold Briggs. I must say, sir, I think this could be a fantastic opportunity for interspecies cooperation and understanding. Dr. Harold Briggs fixed the enthusiastic Zorvan with a glare that could melt metal. Kyle Beck, if you don't return to your duties immediately, I'll have you assigned to clean the waste recycling units for the next solar cycle, with your tongue. Kyle Beck hastily slithered off, leaving a trail of anxious slime behind him. Dr. Harold Briggs turned, surveying the now empty cafeteria. A sinking feeling settled deep within him. His neat, orderly corner of the galaxy was about to get a whole lot more human. What have I gotten myself into? He muttered, his mandibles clicking in resignation. Little did he know, this was just the beginning of Galactic General's adventures with its new human guests. The galaxy would never be the same again. Epilogue. 6 standard months later, Galactic General had become the most famous, or infamous, depending on who you asked, medical facility in the known universe. Despite Dr. Harold Briggs's initial hesitations, the Human Cultural Exchange Program had been an overwhelming success. Oh, sure, there had been a few incidents, like the time a group of human extreme sports enthusiasts turned the hospital's Zerog therapy chamber into a makeshift space halfpipe, or the infamous Great Caffeine Incident of 42, which led to 3 new wings being added to the hospital and a galaxy-wide ban on importing Earth coffee. But the medical advancements were nothing short of groundbreaking. Tyler Grant KNX had published 12 papers on human cellular regeneration, earning the coveted Galactic Science Academy's Most Likely to Accidentally Create a Superhero award. Kyle Beck had become the hospital's official human cultural liaison, a job that mostly involved explaining why humans couldn't breathe fire or shoot lasers from their eyes, no matter what the latest holodrama might suggest. As for Amanda Foster, she'd turned her newfound fame as the unkillable human into a lucrative career as a motivational speaker. Her signature catchphrase, survive, thrive, and then take a nap. If I can survive a plasma bomb, you can survive that job interview. That line had become a galaxy-wide sensation, echoing through the halls of Galactic General. Dr. Harold Briggs, the once rigid and composed chief of medicine, had long since given up on maintaining order in the chaos of the new human ward. These days, he could often be found in the hospital's new Earth room, sipping something called a pina colada and muttering about his plans for early retirement. As for the rest of the galaxy, well, they were slowly adjusting to the fact that humans weren't going anywhere. Despite their death world reputation, humans were proving to be innovative, resilient, and, frankly, possessed of a zest for life that was nothing short of terrifying. The future of galactic medicine had never looked more promising or more accident-prone. But hey, that's what you get when you let humans into your hospital. At least one thing was certain: things were never, ever boring.